live on your side. First at 9 starts with breaking news.
We owe it to the victims. We owe it to the victims' families. We owe it to the victims who are no longer with us.
Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin fed up, pleading for information from people in the city after someone destroyed lives on the city's south side last night.
4 people are dead, 17 injured after police say multiple shooters opened fire near a group of people standing on Magnolia Street right outside the Hush Lounge. Birmingham police tonight announcing 3 of the victims identified as 21-year-old Anitra Holloman, 27-year-old Taj Booker, and 27-year-old Carlos McCain.
We continue our team coverage of the shooting. Our Josh Gant, Lauren Harkson, and Brady Talbert joining us live after talking with witnesses and people who survived the shooting.
Josh, we'll start with you. You spoke to one of those victims who says he's just thankful he survived.
Yeah, Jim, Gabriel Islami says he is very blessed to see today after being shot. You know, this was his first time at this club. He was standing outside with his friends waiting to get in when he says bullets started flying out of nowhere.
Standing there talking, and all of a sudden you just hear rapid fire full auto gunshots just ring out.
Gabriel Islami describing the chaotic moments on Birmingham's South Side Saturday. The 24-year-old was waiting in line with friends for a high school reunion at Hush when he heard gunshots.
As I'm running, all of a sudden I couldn't feel my leg anymore. And I just dropped. And it didn't even dawn on me that I had gotten shot. I turn around and kind of look back, and there's people laid out all over the sidewalk, and there's gun smoke in the air too. It's almost like a horror movie. There's bodies with smoke in the air. It's something literally out of a horror movie.
Islami says a bullet went through his butt and came out his inner thigh, narrowly missing vital arteries. His friend, who was also grazed by a bullet, came to his side and rushed him to UAB.
And by the grace of God, it missed everything. No artery, no blood vessels, no bone. But I was told it was millimeters away from hitting my artery. The biggest fear in the world, anyone's biggest fear, is leaving.
His dad, Mo, was waiting outside UAB. He says as the crowd was growing, seen in these videos, everyone was anxiously waiting to find out about their loved ones.
It's the worst feeling in the world. Not knowing if I'm going to see my son again.
Islami described the bloody scene as he made his way to see his son, images he can't get out of his head.
As I walked through the trauma unit, there was bed after bed after bed of young people, blood everywhere, and the worst part of it was not knowing who's going to make it, who's not going to make it.
Big relief when he saw his son, knowing things for them could have been a lot worse.
Of course, you know, no parent wants to bury their child, you know. So I mean, it's got to stop. I mean, if people have issues with each other, there's other ways besides resorting to violence and ruining your life as well as ending another's in the process.
Really echoing there what his son says. He says something has to give when it comes to this gun violence. I'm joined now by our Brady Talbert, picks up our team coverage after hearing from local leaders about all of this. The mayor really fed up with it.
Yeah, a lot of emotions today. I can tell you that the mayor vented his frustration about all this gun violence that we've seen in the Magic City recently, in particular criticizing the way politics is playing into public safety.
I really don't care. I don't give a damn about partisan. I don't care about Democratic politics, Republican politics. What is my top priority, along with the Birmingham Police Department, is public safety.
Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin calling on both state and federal lawmakers for gun reform. In 2022, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed the permitless carry law, which allows people to carry a concealed gun without a license. The mayor says this is part of the problem.
You see, we are prepared to be overly aggressive, dogmatic, if you will, and go after every shooter in the city. But as it stands, they can ride around with no permit. There's a certain element in this city, there's a certain element in this community who are too comfortable riding around with semi-automatic weapons, automatic weapons, conversion switches, and everything else.
Woodfin asked members of Congress to reinstate a measure similar to the assault weapons ban signed by President Clinton in the 90s. It was lifted in 2004.
Our country, and not just our country, but the city of Birmingham, in that 10-year window, saw the lowest form of gun violence. We don't have any interest in this whole debate about Second Amendment rights. We don't have any interest in people who want to protect their homes, militia, whatever else you want to say.
And while there has been no movement on the federal level, we could see some changes here on the state level in regards to Glock switches. Those devices can convert a pistol into a fully automatic weapon. We're going to have more on that angle coming up for you at 9:30 and 10. Your reporter in Birmingham, I'm Brady Talbert, WBRC 6 News, on your side.
Thanks, Brady. So again, reviewing the main points of what police believe happened last night. As we've told you, the police say the attackers killed 4 people and injured 17 more. Police also telling us that the attackers intended to kill one of the people who was there and that someone paid them to do so. Also, authorities confirming to us that the weapons used were fully automatic. So you pull the trigger once, you get multiple shots, and that investigators found more than 100 shell casings on the scene last night. Jen?
We're hearing from local and national leaders on this shooting. U.S. Representative Terry Sewell said, quote, "This senseless violence is unacceptable and it must stop. We as elected officials must do all that we can at every level of government to break the cycle of violence, get dangerous weapons off the streets, and make our communities safer." And Birmingham police pleading for your help in this shooting, offering an easier way to submit tips. This is Birmingham Police's evidence submission portal where you can submit information on this shooting. All you have to do is scan that QR code right there on your screen. And a reminder, you can also submit anonymous tips to Crime Stoppers at 205-254-7777. Now, this is hard to believe. This is the 3rd quadruple homicide in Birmingham this year. The first one happened on February 16th on Center Street North. That shooting happened in the afternoon. It killed 3 people at the scene. A 4th person died later at the hospital. The second quadruple homicide of the year was on July 13th at a nightclub on 27th Street North. In addition to the 4 people who were killed, 10 people were shot and injured.
Now, at this morning's press conference, Birmingham's mayor called on the state to ban Glock switches. And Jen, you've done a lot of research on this. You've done stories on these Glock switches. Explain a little bit what they are and what they do.
That's right. They're a very small device. It fits on a semi-automatic pistol like a Glock, and it makes it function like a fully automatic weapon. The danger here is that you can't control the shots. They spray out. It's hard to control what direction they're in, and they really put everyone in danger that's even in a nearby glance of the gun. Right,
and we should point out again, the mayor was talking about this. We're not sure that this is just yet. We haven't confirmed that this is what was used last night.
There's not a lot of daylight. We know that police say these were automatic weapons that they used during this shooting. This Glock switch makes a semi-automatic weapon function like a fully automatic weapon, like a machine gun. So while they haven't said they used a Glock switch, that woman said she thought she heard a Glock switch being used. They didn't say that, but there's not a lot of daylight between the two.
Right, and people might be surprised to learn that these devices are not outlawed in Alabama.
That's right. It can only be charged and prosecuted by the Department of Justice. There is no ban in Alabama. The state has no laws regulating machine guns. That's something that surprises a lot of people. The federal government's prioritized these cases, and people like district attorneys, they're asking for a ban so they can also make the arrest. But right now their hands are tied, and that's something the mayor spoke very candidly about this morning.
All right, so any chances of the state taking any action here?
They're planning on it. They tried to during the last legislative session. The bill died before the session ended. But right now there is a pre-filed bill, and it would make this a Class C felony. So just possession. It doesn't have to be used in the commission of a crime. It doesn't have to be on a gun. Simply possessing that tiny little device would be a felony.
All right, and we saw the video of the device being tested on a range. What was the effect there?
The fact is, they're just difficult to control. I mean, the bullets spray everywhere. That was a quote from the police chief at the time. When we worked with ATF to show us this device, when they first started coming on the scene here in Birmingham and police first started seeing them, they didn't even know what they were. You can see it right there. It takes less than a whole second to empty a large magazine, and the bullets do spray. And that's why they say that this is such a public safety issue. When you have a lot of people in a confined space and someone has something like this, it's going to cause a lot of harm. And that's why they anticipate, with 100 shots fired last night, 100 shell casings they've recovered, that's why they anticipate something like this could have been the culprit in this shooting, especially when you have multiple gunman involved.
All right, we will continue to look to you for reporting on this, Jen.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, today, Rock City Church, which is led by pastor and gospel star Mike McClure Jr., issued a statement about the shooting last night. He says, in part, quote, "Sadly, these types of events have become so normal that most people don't typically react to them. However, now more than ever is the time for prayer and action." Meanwhile, Hush Lounge, which is right near where the shooting happened, also put out a statement that says, in part, quote, "It is heartbreaking that a moment meant for gathering and community was shattered by such tragedy," end quote.
New tonight, we're speaking with a witness to that mass shooting who says she saw it, she felt it all happen from a bird's eye view. She lives in a nearby high-rise apartment with her window facing toward that awful scene. Your reporter Lauren Harkson joining us live from the square where it all happened. Lauren, she was not far away. We saw that video earlier.
Yeah, Jen, that's right. The woman I spoke with lives only a couple blocks away from here. Now, she did tell me she already shared what she saw with police, but decided to come to us with her testimony in hopes it'll help catch these criminals quicker.
I just can't get the sounds out of my head and what I've seen tonight. So it's very traumatic.
74-year-old Crystal Berry feeling traumatized after someone kills 4 people and hurts 17 others near her home.
Oh my God, that was a hell of a shooting. Working in the medical field for 30 years, I never thought I'd experience something like this at 74 years old in my life.
She saw the incident from a window 15 floors up.
I walked in and was getting my gown on, and I heard and a gun, and I thought sounds, and I literally ran over to the window, and I looked out, and when I did, I saw 2 3-wheeled motorcycles with a black car right on their tail, and they were flying. I mean, they were like 50 miles an hour by the time they got there, and I did like that to see them out of the way.
She says the motorcycles and the car were so loud, the sound shook her windows.
You see that? They actually rumbled.
Berry, who worked as a respiratory therapist in the NICU, says she was overwhelmed by the quick response.
I had never seen many first aid responders in my life. It was ambulance after ambulance after ambulance and fire engines after fire engine.
And while first responders were still there, Berry says the same car that sped away from the scene returned.
I saw that same black car, and the reason I know it was because of the sound of its motor. And I said, look, that is the same car. This is crazy. How would somebody be that evil to come back to see what they've done?
Berry says she's lived in the area for 5 years and she loves it, though the surrounding violence is getting worse.
What's it like with the people on the lower floors than me that are older and sicker than I am? I said, this is so hard for all of us elderly people to go through all this every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Berry and police are now asking anyone who has any information about this shooting to go ahead and speak up so police can catch the criminals who did this. Of course, if you would like to remain anonymous, you can call Crime Stoppers and potentially get a cash reward. Your reporter live in Birmingham, Lauren Harkson, WBRC 6 News, on your side.
Take a look at this. Tonight, people are paying tribute to the victims in that tragic shooting. A vigil held tonight to honor the people who lost their lives. Neighbors in the area speaking about why it was so important to come out and salute those who were killed.
I really personally believe in processing grief and not, waiting and having it come out later. So I think it's important to take a moment, right after something occurs and just sit with it, take your time with it. I think our news cycle moves really quickly, as you understand, and it's important to realize that these were real lives lost. These were our neighbors. These could have been, family members, so taking that time.
And a reminder, for more information on this shooting, just download our WBRC News app. We will keep you updated on the latest developments. It's free in your phone's app store.
Well, we continue our team coverage of this mass shooting in Southside. State lawmakers are working to respond to the mayor's call to ban Glock switches following last night's shooting. It's something we've been investigating and reporting on for 2 years after the first Glock switches surfaced in Birmingham. Police say this tiny device is doing serious damage across the state and country. It's called a Glock switch and converts a semi-automatic pistol to full auto. The danger? You can't control the direction and speed of the bullets, even for highly trained officers.
People are taking an ordinary pistol, ordinary, often a Glock, and putting on a very inexpensively made and easy to get device. It turns it into a machine gun. So these, become killing machines that can spray dozens and dozens of bullets in just seconds.
Right now, these devices are only illegal under federal law. There's no state law regulating machine guns in Alabama, which means the Department of Justice is the only agency that can charge and prosecute individuals for having a Glock switch. State Representative Phil Insler is one of the sponsors of a bipartisan bill to create a state ban.
Law enforcement wants to have a state level offense, so that way, if they find one of these devices, they can easily turn it over, turn the information, the evidence over to their district attorney in their county and have the district attorney go ahead and charge. Right now, they can't do that, though, because there's no state level offense. So that's why it's really important that we do this to increase public safety.
If the bill passes, it would make possessing this device with or without a gun a Class C felony.
I know that legislation is not going to stop every crime. It's not going to stop every use. But what we want to do is to send a very strong and clear message that if you possess one of these, that is illegal and that will not be tolerated. And the reason for that is that we want to catch people. We want to catch these devices before they're used to kill people and inflict harm.
Insler sponsored a similar bill during the last legislative session, but the session ended before the Senate could take a vote.